It's time for school, and this young man wonders if he'll make it to his first class.
It's hard for me to kind of get to school on time.
Zane wants to get to school on time, but the long trip makes it almost impossible. The 17-year-old leaves the Queen's shelter where he lives with his mom and sister a little after 7 a.m. and walks a mile to the bus. A 30-minute bus ride takes him to the subway, and then it's another hour to school in Brooklyn.
I'm never in the class because I'm always late, so that was going to bring my grade down pretty badly.
Zane is one of 17,000 homeless children in New York City shelters. That's more homeless kids in the city than ever before. More homeless people in the city since the Great Depression, and like Zane, most are invisible. We met up with him another day at an after-school program.
I don't know how to explain how it feels not having a home. It just feels like hell. It feels like all your basic human rights are taken away from you.
Yet a shelter is the place Zane's family's called home on and off for 4 years. Zane's friend, who lives in a shelter with his dad, is frustrated by the lack of freedom and prison-like atmosphere.
You know, sometimes it just gets to a point where it's like enough is enough. But of course I have no choice because I'm a minor. I can't just pick up and, you know, walk the streets and hope I just get a house.
For the kids and their families, it starts here. PATH is where homeless families first register with the city. It's one line after another.
If you feel that being homeless is downgrading, then go to PATH, and then you will literally feel like you have nothing. You're stripped from every civil right, every amendment right, every right you ever had. You can't bring food into this place. People log you out. People are rude. Security guards don't care. And the people in PATH that are trying to get help, they break down. They literally break down.
Going to PATH, which was one of the most frustrating times in my whole life. Oh God. Looking at all these people and like some of them are like just hit their adult age, and it's like, wow, like how did you end up here?
Can't have your friends over and stuff. Can't have nobody to visit you.
Chasity is at the playground outside her mom's work. She's waiting to go home to the shelter where they've lived for 4 years.
I think it's good because I have a place to sleep.
Like Zane and Chris, she tries to keep her homelessness a secret.
I had told my friend about where I live at, and she wouldn't open her mouth, and then she told another person. Then they kept on making fun of me whenever. That's why I don't like tell nobody.
Chastity's mother, Wanda, worries about her daughter.
She fights. She's in a lot of fights now with girls. She never did that. It takes a toll on her. And people think that it don't traumatize your kids. Yes, it does. The shelter does traumatize your kids.
And taxpayer dollars support it. The city spends $36,000 a year to keep a family like Wanda's in a shelter, where there's not even a kitchen. In contrast, a subsidy for a rental apartment would cost only $10,000 a year, according to Coalition for the Homeless. But the Bloomberg administration eliminated homeless rent subsidies, and now a working mom like Wanda is required to show substantial income to a landlord before she can rent.
You gotta have an income of $37,000. I was like, what? $37,000? Where? So then it's not affordable housing. There's no such thing as affordable housing.
At a news conference, Mayor Bloomberg told us the federal government cut rent subsidies, and the city followed. He says people depend on the shelter system too much.
It becomes a more viable alternative to private housing, and the city just cannot afford to give anybody who says, I don't want to pay my own rent. The city's not going to pick up that tab, so we've got to make sure we give services to those who really need it.
The city's doing absolutely nothing right.
In a recent report, the Institute for Children, Poverty, and Homelessness advocates for a specialized shelter system to deal with the underlying issues of homelessness, including domestic violence, drug addiction, and lack of education.
Parents who have no education should be in a shelter that is totally about education, getting them not just the GED, but getting them into community college courses, because that is the only way you will make a living wage, and that impacts on the child. But it also becomes a role model for the children.
But there is no city plan to change things, and so children like Chasity, Zane, and Chris continue to grow up behind shelter walls.